Hey, Andrew here at SHOT 2022 with Hyperfire and Ben, who's going to tell me all about a new trigger for this thing.
Yep.
What is this thing? Is this some sort of...
It's one of the number one things that people love or they hate. It's an AK-47.
Not an AR-15.
Yep, exactly.
So I was playing around with this,
Yep.
and as much as I hate to admit it, this is, no, in all seriousness, this is probably the best AK trigger I've ever felt.
That's what we like to hear.
There's, it's a very crisp break. You can feel where it's going to break, which is unusual for an AK trigger because normally it's just like, just keep on pulling through it and eventually it just goes off and there's not a wall that it stops at, but you can feel there's no take up. There's apply pressure and then it breaks.
Yep.
And there's just no, there's the thing that I hate, one of the things that I hate most about AKs is that smooth sweeping through, guessing when, I mean, people talk about how good marksmanship is about the surprise break, but not that kind of surprise, you know?
You should be able to learn the trigger. It shouldn't just, oh, guess is it going to happen here or here?
Yeah.
So there should be a little bit of predictability to it, a little bit that you can actually get used to. And so really what we tried to do with these series of triggers is just get an AK trigger that's clean and just get a good AK trigger that's clean and consistent across the board. And also in many different platforms. So what most people are used to with AK triggers is either it's going to fit these models but not these, and what those issues are is typically the safety selector. So the safety selector in there is also ours. What a lot of companies have done is they build up the back of the trigger and then you yourself as the end user have to file it down, grind on it, whatever to get it to fit, and we wanted to eliminate that. So we made the trigger, we got one standard trigger across the board, fits in just about everything we've tested so far, and then the safety selector actually has a set screw that's used to close that distance between the safety selector and the trigger, therefore allowing the triggers to be used in most AK platforms.
This also addresses one of the other biggest problems with the AK, in that there are a lot of selector switches that have a bump or whatever for you to be able to activate with your shooting hand, but this one actually moves. Like, it doesn't take a lot of effort to move it, and most of those other aftermarket trigger safeties, even with the ledge, you got to really get on it, and that doesn't make it easy to go up and down and safe and fire. And this is a dramatic difference. You can't see on video how easy that is, but it feels right, and it doesn't feel like it's going to flop around either. It's positive in both positions, but it's easy to move. So earlier off camera, you were talking about different finishes and different trigger geometries.
Absolutely. So we actually have 3 models in the new AK series trigger. So it's called our XAK series, and they're all Mark 1, Mark 2, and Mark 3. So the Mark 1 is going to have our traditional curved trigger bow with a standard mill-grade mag-phos coating. The Mark 2 has the straight trigger bow. It's identical to this one. It just has the mag-phos coating as well. And then this one has a polish and a nickel boron coating for lubricity and longevity. It's going to feel a little bit more broken in right out of the box. And as we know about most AK users, they don't like to lube or take care of anything. So that's always going to feel like it's lubed up and ready to go.
Awesome. This is really exciting. It's again, I've said this in some of the other videos that you talk to certain companies and they're like, yeah, it's the same thing we did last year, but now it's brown.
Yes, absolutely.
This is definitely a market departure from what you guys have been doing in the past. Not that there's anything wrong with your AR triggers, they're fantastic, but it's nice to see it applied to the AK.
Absolutely, and that's what we're doing. As we grow, we expand and hopefully get more good Hyperfire products into people's hands.
Okay, so when is this going to be available?
So we did a soft launch and announced it last year. However, we're hoping that they'll be out in the next 1 to 2 months. So right now, with everything going on with COVID, it's a little hard to get parts in the door, but it'll be out in the next 1 to 2 months.
Okay, and the MSRP?
MSRP on the Mark III is going to be $95. The other two, the Mark 1 and Mark 2 models, are $75.
Okay. And one more question: does it take lock mags?
No.
Well, Ben, thank you for your time. Thank you for putting up with me. Thank you guys for watching. I love you.